Some of the most damaging mistakes in immigration don't happen at the border. They occur when people misunderstand the rules after they've already arrived in Canada, especially when it comes to working without a permit. Whether someone entered as a visitor or student, or later remained in Canada on implied status, there's a lot of confusion about what's allowed and what's not. So in this video, we'll cover 3 of the most common misunderstandings about working in Canada without a permit, and why it matters, especially if you're planning to apply for permanent residence. Misunderstanding number 1, if I'm not being paid, it's not work. A lot of people assume that if they're volunteering, helping a friend, or receiving gifts or informal payments, it doesn't count as work. But under Canadian immigration law, work is defined broadly. Even unpaid activity can require a work permit if it competes with the Canadian labor market, or takes a job someone else could be paid to do. So if someone is volunteering full-time in a business, helping with renovations in exchange for room and board, or driving for cash under the table, it can all be treated as unauthorized work. And that can have real consequences when applying for a new permit, restoring status, or applying for permanent residence. IRCC may question your compliance history, even if your intentions were good. Misunderstanding number 2. If I have a valid SIN, I must be allowed to work. This one causes a lot of confusion. Some people assume that having a social insurance number is proof that they're authorized to work in Canada. But that's not how it works. A SIN is issued based on your immigration status at a particular point in time. If your work permit expires or your status changes, the SIN doesn't get canceled, but your right to work might. So you could still be on payroll, still filing taxes, and still getting paid, while technically working without authorization. This comes up often with people who used to have a valid permit but stayed in Canada after it expired. It's also common with students who switch to visitor status, or with workers who apply to extend a permit but never get a decision. The SIN stays the same, but the legal right to work does not. That's why it's critical to check your current status, not just rely on the documents you were once given. Misunderstanding number 3, everyone works under the table. It won't affect my immigration. Unfortunately, this one is far too common. There's a belief that unauthorized work is normal and won't really matter if you're applying for permanent residence later, especially under humanitarian and compassionate grounds. But the truth is, unauthorized work can hurt an application in 2 different ways. First, it may be seen as non-compliance with Canadian immigration law. Even if there are strong humanitarian reasons to stay, IRCC will look at whether you respected the conditions of your stay. Working without authorization, especially for a long time, can be viewed as a serious breach. Second, if no taxes were paid, there's no official record of that work. That means you may not be able to rely on it to prove establishment in Canada. It won't count toward pension, won't show up on your CRA history, and won't support claims about your economic contributions. In some cases, even if you've worked for years, IRCC may treat you as someone who hasn't truly established in Canada, simply because the work can't be verified. That said, H&C applicants do have an opportunity to explain why they may have worked without authorization or without paying taxes. IRCC will assess the full context, including the reasons behind the unauthorized work, the length of time involved, and any efforts made to contribute to Canadian society. While it may still be treated as an adverse factor, it's not an automatic barrier, and a well-presented explanation can make a difference. Working without a permit doesn't automatically mean your immigration options are gone, but misunderstanding the rules, or pretending they don't apply, can make things harder than they need to be. If your situation is complicated, or if you've worked without authorization and want to apply for permanent residence, it's worth getting proper advice before taking the next step. If this video helped clarify anything for you, feel free to subscribe for more clear and practical insights on Canadian immigration. Thanks for watching.